our quick Devar Torah. This week's parsha, of course, is the Midbar in the wilderness. That we're in the wilderness. It starts the second month of the second year, which means it's a year and a month since we left Egypt, basically. And we start off, and in English, by the way, it's called the Book of Numbers. It's called Numbers. Because if you look, everywhere you turn to in this Sefer, this book in the Torah, they're doing a census. And so Rashi asked the obvious question. Why? God knows how many Jews there were. I mean, God doesn't need a census to tell him how many Jews there are at that time, but it's for Moshe, for the Jews themselves. First of all, is a census of military-age men, so that if we have to go to war, we know how many can go to war, how many, what our resources are. Also, the Levites are not counted because they don't go to war. They are on the side, they are the chaplains of the Jewish people. Like today in the US, in many countries, we have chaplains. So the Levites are our chaplains. That's their job. Whereas all the others have to go to war if necessary. But notice I said if necessary, because in the Torah's view, you don't go to war just willy-nilly. You don't go to war just because you feel like it. You go to war when you have to. So it's interesting that this has been the Jewish attitude throughout. There are other people who enjoy going to war. But what the Torah is also explaining, that wars are expensive. They're also expensive in manpower. Many years ago in Israel, they said, I was in the artillery corps, and they said, we can replace a cannon within about a week or so. It takes 18 years to replace you. And it's something to think about. And this is the way that a lot of commanders think about it. Commanders report that at the end of the battle, they go over the butcher's bill. That's the amount of men that they lost. And very good armies try to have minimal losses because, you want to keep, and you realize, or to give it another way, a friend of mine, somebody I knew many years ago, was an officer in the U.S. military. He was with a group of soldiers that landed at D-Day. They fought their way into Germany. When they got to Germany, there was a little village, white flags all over the place. So the Americans said, great, we don't have to fight today. They surrendered. And then there was a sniper. His commanding officer pulled out all the men, brought in the artillery, they flattened the village. And he said, wait a minute, to his commander, sir, there's only one sniper that we know of. Why'd you flatten the village? And the commander replied, I'm not writing another letter home. I don't have to. That means I'm not going to lose another man. And this comes from the Jewish concept. We go to war, we do our job, but we make sure a minimal loss of life, both to us and even to enemy non-combatants. That's something that we're very careful about. But this Bamidbar, with God counting the numbers, makes you realize every soldier is a person. Because these are all men of military age, they're all people. They're all their own world. And you have to realize that as we make the count. So something to think about, Kaddish Rabbanim.